I'm in. Can we start?
Yes. Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, students. Today we are in the third session of our bridge course for all our new beginners, new joiners, new batch of BA LLB and BBA LLB. And today we have with us Advocate M.K. Dhingra, a senior counsel at Supreme Court and High Court. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
And so this, I think this platform is quite familiar to you. I believe you'll be able to run the slides from here, sir. It's been already uploaded here.
Let me just check again because we have different platforms in different institutions.
Right,
so,
right.
You'll have to guide me initially as to where exactly
Right. Right, sir.
on the left side, the panel I can see.
Right, we cannot see you, sir, but currently I think there is one more option of camera there. There are two buttons in the left side of the screen, top hand side. The first button is for the camera. If you just click it once, we'll be able to see you.
I've tried doing that. Yes. The first one, on the very first one, settings one?
Yeah, not the settings, sir. This is about camera. There is a logo, a round circle logo representing camera there.
There's
blue color. There are two blue color switches there, round buttons.
Yes.
The first one is camera. If you click it just once, it will turn on.
Okay, yes, I can see you now, and you can see me now.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay.
I was looking at the left-hand panel, actually. I was not looking at the top.
Okay. So left-hand panel is for the other things where the slides are being stored. So if you go to the slide tab, there is this option slides. There you will see there are two videos being uploaded. One by Dr. Ashu Dhiman and another is yours videos.
Which is the one? Which is the one on the left side?
Yes, sir.
Hands raised, and above that?
Yes, sir.
This one?
Slides.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Once you click there, start presentation.
Okay.
And then you will be able to present it on the screen.
Okay, that's fine. I can get it now. Yes.
And it can be changed from there itself.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
Right, sir. So we welcome you, sir. So students, we have Advocate M.K. Dhingra, sir, with us. And he'll be talking on the topic of career in law. So it would be a good booster start for you all so that you'll be able to know what all career options are there in law for you. So, sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It's a nice opportunity for me to interact with these young minds, who have just come out of school. And I believe this after the class 12, 5-year integrated course.
Yes, sir. This is 5-year integrated course.
Yes, so they are into the first semester, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me take this opportunity of, speaking to them, to welcome them to this particular course and this particular institution, which I believe is an institution for excellence. They have made a good choice right away. So let me just start the presentation by saying good morning to you all and welcome you to this webinar of mine, which will give you some idea about the career in law. Before we start, let me just start with giving you a congratulation message, as well as also telling you as to what exactly we are supposed to be doing here on this webinar. In addition to complimenting you for the right choice that you have made for your career, we'll discuss as to in what way is it a right choice. And then we'll see as to what exactly do we mean by career and what exactly do we mean by law. Because if you are enrolling yourself into a program in law, going for an integrated LLB with either BA or BB or whatever, then you must know what exactly is the career, what exactly is the law that you're looking for. Then how do you plan your career? And once you have planned your career, obviously competition is a way of life now. So how do we stand out for a competition? What are the various options available in the career that you've chosen? And what will it be that will be taken up by you, or what will be that you will do to become successful in the chosen path? And then we'll conclude at the end. So that is what the outline is as to what is the session objectives and what are the takeaways that you're going to having from here. Since you have made a very good choice, let's celebrate an excellent decision by all of you. You graduated from your schools, as I would call it, passed out from your schools, and have made a informed choice. I would say informed choice because everybody has choices at each stage. There is a decision tree. You decide one way or the other. I'm sure you must have gone through the options available to you, and you have chosen a career option or a study option in line with your interest, in line with what you are interested in, and what you feel that you're confident about. So you have made an excellent decision already. In fact, not one, but two decisions. So I offer you a virtual cake to celebrate that. And we'll elaborate further on this cake also. We are living in virtual world today. Everything is happening virtual. I would have loved to address you in person, but now I can only give you a virtual cake to celebrate the excellent decision that you have made. Of
Sir,
not
we
only
cannot, sorry to interrupt. I think if you have started your slides, we're not able to see that.
which slide?
Have you started with your slides?
Yes, yes,
sir?
I've started.
I think it's not visible. You need to start from there, sir. It's on the left-hand side panel, and you
Okay.
need to click start there. Then it will get started, and then we'll be able to see it on the screen, sir. Now, yes, we can see that.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, okay.
Thank
So
you.
I'll go from the beginning, the slide part. Whatever I've spoken, was it audible to you?
Yes, sir, it was audible. And
Okay.
moreover, if you want students to interact with you, sir, student can raise hand, and you will see that this below slides, there is a hand raise kind of a symbol there, speak. If they click it, speak on their end, then they will be in the lobby, and you will be able to see that while clicking on this button, speak. And and you can also admit them, sir.
Okay. I would prefer it that way, that I have the questions or the clarifications at the end.
Right, sir.
Okay. So students can come back to me at the end, and we can always answer all their queries, all their clarifications, whatever they may have, in addition to what has been informed to them. Right.
Right, sir.
So I'll again start from the presentation part. Welcome again. We will just go through what we have already discussed. So we were on the cake part of it. I said let's celebrate virtually. I can't be offering you a physical cake right now, but let's celebrate with cutting a cake in honor of your decision to take up law as a subject and as a career, and over top of it, choosing GIBS as an institution to equip you with the necessary skills and tools to make a successful career out of it. I'm sure you'll do well. Now, we are on the subject career in law. Career, as you can see, as is graphically represented here, we are meaning that we are always progressing upwards, ahead. That is what the symbol signifies. So all of us must choose a career, and thereafter must plan a career, must have a strategy for it in case we want our career graph to go up like it is being graphically represented here. We have to do certain things to make it work for us. It's not enough. It's only a starting point for you. So let's see as to what it takes, what exactly is a career, what exactly is law, and thereafter you can plan for it. Now, as you can see on your screen, what is a career? Career can be defined differently, different ways to define what exactly could be a career. It's a metaphorical journey, let's call it that way, through learning, work, and experience. We learn every day, we work every day, and we have new experiences every day. So in that sense of the term, it's a long journey. Career is not a one-day affair. Career is a long-term affair. If we were to define it as a noun, it's a profession one is trained for, and one does it for a long time. Like you entered a legal profession, or you are wanting to attend or enter the legal profession, so it's going to be career in law for you. It can also be defined as series of jobs in a particular area of work. Like somebody could be an IT engineer, so he's into IT. You are into law, so you are into law as a career. And there could be many facets to it. There could be many options available to you, many streams, many fields available to you. We will see that. Now, it is also defined as a period of one's life that one spends working. Like I have had a checkered career, for example. That's a sentence we use. So we define a particular period, right? In my career with so-and-so, I was doing so-and-so. So that is what the period reference is. So what I mean to say, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Sprint starts and ends very quickly, but marathon goes on and on. So we are trying to use relative terms here. So therefore, the strategy for both of them is different. If you need to run a sprint, you have to have a strategy as to would you run faster at the start or faster at the end. Whereas in marathon, you have to be consistent and then give it a push at the fag end. But here, marathon, what I mean to say is you have to strategize your career also. Now, we are on career in law. What does career in law mean? What is a law? You have all enrolled into a law course. You are going to be pursuing the LLB course along with your, of course, dual degree, most of you. Let's try and understand to define law, because there would be interactions with you in your society amongst your friends, because most of your friends would have taken different career options. And if you have taken career in law as an option by joining LLB course, you should know as to how do you defend yourself, how do you defend your decision, and are you able to define as to what exactly you stand for, and why did you choose this particular field. Law basically means a system of rules by the sovereign. I will take it as a sort of a training session as well. It's not a monologue in the real sense of the term, though it may appear to be so, but you can jot down points if you have any, and I'll clarify that at the end of the session. So it's a system of rules by the sovereign. Sovereign, why I mean to say, the one who has the authority to make laws. In our case, it's the Parliament of India and the state legislatures. What are the laws made for? They are made for regulating actions of the constituents. So it is a law in different spheres, different activities which are governed. Constituents are the population, the people who are going to be governed by the Parliament. Non-compliance means if there is a law on the subject and we do not follow that subject, then we are wasted by the consequences. Fine or imprisonment or both. For example, I'll take the simplest of example. If you are supposed to be driving on the left side of the road and if you drive on the right side, you are supposed to be stopping on the traffic signal on a red light and you jump the red light. So therefore, we are not complying the law. We are non-compliant. So we must be wasted by consequences, which could be a fine imposed by the traffic cop on the spot, or if it's a serious offense, it could also result into imprisonment by the court. Depends on what level of offense you make. In terms of, say, for example, some accident, then you will have some kind of a imprisonment also attached to our consequence. Now, this is what we mean by law. Now, law doesn't operate in isolation, does it? It doesn't operate in isolation. It operates in an environment. Environment means what? The circumstances, the objects, the conditions. So, because we are all operating within a closed society, we have the laws governing our conduct, our behavior, and all of us are competing for the same resources for our survival. So therefore, if we are competing for the same resources, there are often situations which will result in conflict, which need to be resolved by law, not by the fighting or the arguments between the people themselves. Before that, let me also take you to, in fact, I skipped this slide. What is the basic qualification that you achieve or get in law? That is called legum baccalaureus. Baccalaureus, whatever you can spell. It's a Latin word. All the Latin words you will get in law. In fact, most of the law will have legal terminologies which are originating from Latin, the language, and then you are supposed to be defining those maxims. You will have plenty of them in your 5-year course. Now, legum baccalaureus, as it is called, it's bachelor in law. Now, that is not the right word to use, the right description for it. Because in Latin, lex means law, and when you have plurality attached to it, means laws, if you have, then they capitalize the first word. So therefore, the LL you see in your degree or the program, the course name is the double L. It stands for plurality. Means the succeeding word has to be read in plural. That means B becomes bachelor, right? And LL is for laws. So bachelor of laws, not bachelor of law or in law. So therefore, you should be able to also explain the degree you are pursuing. That is what is a good introduction to your course as well. Now, as I said, the law does not operate in isolation. It operates around us, for us, with us. Right? Now, law, is it only a cold print? What is cold print? Means something which is printed on the paper. It has no emotions. It can not attack you. It cannot be attacked by you. But you have to just read it and interpret it. You cannot change it because it's already printed. But what do? Is it a cold print only that it has to be applied exactly in the manner it is written there? Not exactly. See in the slide, it is printed in Constitution and Bare Acts. Yes, to that extent, it is a cold print. But there is a dynamic nature to it. The law gets amended, modified, and keeps pace with the times. Though we normally say law is not as dynamic as the times are, as the technology is evolving. But please understand, law has far better catch and power and reach than anything else. Because unless the law allows it, technology will not be able to move forward. In fact, for the matter, no other discipline can move forward unless the law lets it go. So law has to provide the permissions first for anything else to advance. So law is a dynamic subject in that context of the term. It, however, catches up with time. As the time goes by, the laws are amended, keeping in mind, keeping in view the requirements of the present times. Societal needs also change, so law also keeps on changing. Now, law has a human side to it. It's not only a bare cold print. Why it is so and how it is so, you can see it on your slides. It is proposed and enacted by humans. That is the parliamentarians I'm referring to. They are the people who are living beings. The laws and the ideas for laws come from their constituents. That is the people that they're representing. The ideas come from them and they take it up in the parliament as a proposal, as a bill. You know, you are, I'm sure, aware and familiar as to how the laws are made. The laws are proposed by the parliamentarians in the shape of a bill. Bill, when it is discussed in the houses of parliament, when it is passed by both the houses and given assent by the president, it becomes an act. It no more remains a bill. First of all, it's a motion which becomes a bill and then it becomes an act. And act finds a mention in the statutes, which we call as Bare Act. Right? And Constitution is mother of all laws in India. Now, the laws are, of course, as I said, are legislated and made by the human beings, that is parliamentarians. Now, they are also implemented by humans to regulate human conduct. The policeman who is going to be monitoring your activity on the road is also a human being. The judge who is going to be monitoring your fine or judgment is also a human being. And the people who are actually committing the offense or the wrong side of the law or the non-compliance of the law is also a human being. So there is a emotive element attached to it. It is not only the cold print. There is a live law attached to it. It is happening because of the situations which are evolving around the human activity. So though we say law doesn't work on emotions, it works only on evidence. Sometimes we say law is blind, but it is not really blind. It sees everything because the people who are being regulated are human beings. People who are being supervised are human beings. The one who is supervising is a human being, and the one who is delivering the judgment is also a human being. So there is a lot of emotive element which has to be read into the law, which refers indirectly to the circumstances under which the law is supposed to be working in. That means understanding the reasons for conflict and also trying to resolve in line with the human element, the law, the emotions, and appreciate the evidence presented to resolve the conflict in that sense only. Now, once you have made a good decision, I would say a good decision, an excellent decision, it's not enough. It's only a starting point. You have chosen a career, so you must plan for it now. You must plan for it. Not that you sit idle for next 5 years because, okay, we have enrolled into a LLB course, we have enrolled into a BBA LLB or BA LLB, we will be passing out and will be fairly successful at the end of that also. You have to not only plan for your good grades in LLB, you also have to plan for what is going to happen thereafter. So you must have a short-term plan, a medium-term plan, and a long-term plan, right? That's what I refer to as career plan. You must understand, okay, you have taken a long-term objective or a role that you have in mind for yourself. Okay, everybody starts with an objective, if you are starting on a long-term basis. But then it's not enough to have a long-term objective. You must review it periodically also. That's what we call monitoring the plan and taking corrective controlling actions. So the plan has to be planned in that manner where you are able to take corrective action also. When you are, say for example, somebody has taken up law as a career option, somebody must be wanting to become a good advocate, somebody must be wanting to become a person in judiciary, a judge, or somebody may be wanting to go into international law. So therefore, there are situations which you have decided for yourselves. Then you have to see as to what are the opportunities in that particular option that you have chosen or that you have in mind. So you have to work towards that. Opportunities need to be explored. Opportunities present themselves and you have to grab them. They don't come to you on your own. They would be there. We have to pick them up. So that is what I mean. You must plan for it. Then if you have seen the opportunity as to what kind of opportunity is going to be presenting itself in the due course of time to you, then you have to have the required and requisite skill set for that. You may have the opportunity, you might have grabbed the opportunity, but whether you succeed with the opportunity, you make full use of opportunity, will depend on what kind of a skill set you have. If you don't have it, you must acquire additional skills so as to get the maximum benefit of the skill that is, or the opportunity that is presenting itself to you. And then of course, we are living in a very competitive world. There could be very few opportunities, very few things available for distribution amongst all of us, and the one who survives the competition will obviously succeed. Now, therefore, what I mean to say is we must have a dynamic approach, what I call a dynamic approach. Dynamic approach means you have to first look inwards. You have to reflect and do self-evaluation as to what am I? Okay, I've enrolled into a LLB course, but what am I? Let me evaluate myself. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Am I a good speaker? Am I a good writer? Do I have good writing skills? What do I do which is best? If I'm not able to do certain things which are required of this profession, let me just take the time to acquire those skills. So I have to self-evaluate and also start exploring opportunities accordingly as to how do I go, where do I go to upskill my competence. Then I have to set goals and milestones for that. And as I said, you must keep on periodic review implementation. You must review as to where you are, you wanting to have a particular task to be achieved. Have you been able to achieve that in the given time frame that you have assigned for yourself? Now, for example, you might have given a time frame to you. Okay, I've got a 5-year plan for LLB. I will secure distinction marks in the first year itself. Normally people say, okay, I'll do reasonably well in the first year, still better in second year, still better in third year, and end of the day, I will end up having a first division. Now, let me tell you, first division is not good enough in today's world. People who are all around efficient are preferred. We must have good grades to support our good personality as well. So we must plan and acquire the things which are required. Why is it that the career planning is important? I'm taking you away from the career options as a moment, because let me just equip you first so that the option you've chosen as a career in law gets fruitified. You have something to achieve, and I'm making you understand as to what gives you the capability to achieve that success. in your chosen career option. If you must decide on career in law, which you already decided, then you must choose the direction, which direction we want to go. Because if you do not know the direction, as it is said, all roads will take me there. Now we must know I have to move northwards or southwards or eastwards or westwards. Then only I can reach my destination. That means then only I can reach my goal. So I must ensure the right direction is available to me. Right direction here can be taken also in the sense of the right guidance available to you. Right? Then you have to see whether is it a passion for you or have you been forced into a situation. Now, if it's a passion, I understand you will always work for it because you have a passion, then you go all out to achieve that passion. However, if it is not a passion, you have been, say, for example, forced into a situation where your parents are forced into this decision onto you, your peers, maybe some other friends have enrolled, maybe you have some relatives who are already advocates, who are already judges, you have evaluated their example, okay, but now make it as a passion. Once you are into it, then there is no other option but to develop a passion for it. And to develop a passion and to work for the passion, you must take tangible action. Means which is a visible action to you, which you can really feel the hard work for it. And then most importantly, the interview question as the word I've used here. Interview question means you have to interview yourself. You have to see what is that you are doing right now. Are you doing the right thing? You have to interview your own self-conscious. Consciousness has to be there within you. That means what I'm saying is you must have the realization that yes, I'm on the right path and I will be able to achieve what I have set out to achieve. As I said, you have to reflect and evaluate. You have to know yourself first. You have to know your capabilities first. And then you must have the interest clearly defined. See, because if you do not know what is to be done, how it is to be done, you must develop an interest for it. Then only you will succeed. If you're not interested, if you're doing a job with half interest, then probably you will never be able to do or get good results. So, and then most importantly, have a mentor. Mentor means somebody who can guide you at each step. And no better mentor than your teachers and professors in your law school. Please be in touch with all your teachers. Be good questionnaire. Never hesitate to ask a question. Sometimes students feel that if I ask a question, the teacher is going to get an impression that I have not understood the subject. Maybe I'm a backbencher. Maybe my comprehension of what is being taught is very poor. That is not the way I look at it. I look at the questions from the inquisitive point of view. That more inquisitive you are, more exploring mind you have, more questions you will have. It does not necessarily reflect your poor knowledge or poor understanding. So you must make it a habit to participate actively in the class as allowed by the teacher. It is not that a disruptive element, but you must constructively contribute to the class, to the teacher for better understanding of the subject. And I'm sure the teacher will be more than willing to become your mentor. Because all of us as teachers, trainers, do look forward to young people progressing and doing well. So therefore, we will be more than willing as teachers, trainers to have you as our understudy. And I'm sure you know it's all human to develop a liking or disliking. So teacher must develop a liking for you. That is what you must do the evaluation for yourself. Now again on reflection and evaluation, it's always a good idea to write it down. Make and mark my points. Do it today. Write down your career objective, career goals, and review it after 1 year. Review it after 2 years. Review it after 3 years. Review it after 4 years. And finally, at the end of the 5-year term, when you are passing out of the college, see as to have you really achieved what you set out on the very first day of your enrolling into this particular course. Maybe not the very first day today, whatever day it is, you must write it down today only. Break it into pieces as to what is to be done by what time. Then religiously follow it. Religiously review it. If not quarterly, maybe 6 monthly. semester wise. You must always do it. And then update your plans. That is what you set out for, and that is what you have achieved. Let's take a simple career plan. Let's say most of us, you students, would be aspiring to become judges. Of course, we do want to become advocates also. We want to become judges also. Most of you have that fancy dream of becoming a judge one day. Olden times and our times, people wanted to have the red light beacon on the car, powerful symbol, esteem. That's of course gone, courtesy the current government. But the fact is, a judge is the most powerful person on earth as of today, after the God. So most of us aspire to become judge. Nothing bad about it, nothing wrong about it. But we must plan to become a judge. So what we must do, suppose if we take in our registration as an example here, somebody wants to become a judge after having enrolled into a LLB course. Basic qualification for appearing in an entrance exam for judge or the judiciary is the LLB. So what are the short-term activities you want to do? You are allowed to appear only after the 5th year examination is over, after your results are out. So short-term, nothing that you would be doing. Long-term, you can always plan as to, okay, at the end of 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, this is what the examination for judiciary entrance is all about. These are the subjects which are taken care of. So those subjects I must master. What way I must master, that also has to be understood from you, by you, from all others who matter to you. Then define the steps. Understand the target very clearly. What it takes to clear the judiciary exam. So you must define the steps. Again, review and update. The best part is, do not get discouraged, because there will be discouragement at all steps and all levels. One, because of the difficulty of the task. Two, because of the competition. You might say, oh, in Delhi, there are 100 vacancies probably every year, and there are thousands and thousands of contestants or candidates appearing for the same position. As I said in the beginning, we are competing for the same resources in this society. So we don't have to get discouraged. If we see, oh, negative part of it, so many people, very few vacancies, I don't have any chance of succeeding. That is not the approach you should take. Never get discouraged. If you work for that goal, for that particular passion, you will always be able to do good, do better. What it takes is short term. You must have the education and the training required for you to achieve that particular goal of becoming a person in the judiciary, that is a judge. You must acquire the skills that are required to get an entrance into that particular profession or that particular job. And then you must practice those skills. The skills which I'm talking about at the moment are not the skills of a judge, the skills of a person who is going to be appearing in an entrance exam. And then you must crack the exam. Practice skills means you must have practice tests. There are situations, there are times available to you. It's a long course and you'll have plenty of time available other than the regular curriculum. You can always devote those times if you want to live your passion of becoming a judge. As I said earlier in my presentation, careers are a lifelong journey. I likened it to marathon, not a sprint. So there is a perfect plan. There is a continuous effort attached to it. You have to track the progress, tick off the goals. You must have a tick off box. Okay, this is what I was supposed to do to achieve this particular objective. This is what I've already done, and done in a very good, effective manner. Change direction if it was not for you. There are some people who will realize, okay, it's not for me to become a judge. Let me, consider only becoming a good advocate, because the skills required for an advocate and the skills required of a judge are totally different. Entrance point of view as well as practice point of view. So ultimately, whatever you choose for yourself, do not get discouraged. Stay motivated. That, okay, if he can do it, why can't I do it? That is the question you must ask yourself always. Now, of course, when you entered this particular institution also, you were faced with a lot of competition in terms of entrance exam as also getting into a particular institution of your choice. So there is a competition. So what do I do to stand out? Here, you have been able to stand out because you secured a particular level of marks, which secured a position for you in this particular course, in this particular institution. Now, if you are wanting to stand out from competition, you must identify your own traits, what it takes to succeed. The will has to be there. You must be strong enough to withstand competition. You must be able to have confidence within you. You must, of course, identify competition. Because unless we know the enemy, what is the strength of an enemy? What is the ammunition that he has? Where I'm talking about, not in the enemy in the real sense of the term. Enemy means somebody who's competing with you for the same resource. So identify the competition. What is he? Then you develop your own USP. USP means unique selling proposition, as we call it in marketing. You must be liked by people. You must be liked by the interview board. You must be liked by your teacher. So that, yes, this fellow is very attentive. This fellow is always on time. This fellow always does the job in the perfect manner, or at least attempts to do in a perfect manner. That is what I'm saying is the profile you should develop in the eyes of your own teacher to begin with, first of all. That yes, this fellow is very regular to the class, does it all attentively. He's not only gossiping. Of course, he's all-rounder. He participates in debates also, competitions also, games also. So that is what the USP you can develop depending on what your interest is. And once you have developed, you must also prepare well for it. How do you stand out for competition? You do it different things. Suppose somebody is doing at games. Somebody is doing excellence in writing. Maybe you cannot write well, but you can speak well. So you can participate in debating competitions. You can participate in debating. So you have to do different things which are in line with what your capabilities are, in line with what your skills are, and do it differently. See, public speaking is also an art. So you must develop that art as to how do you modulate your voice? How do you give punctuation to your voice? How do you stop? Where do you stop? How do you pause? How much you pause for? So do it differently. Be efficient and be effective. I'm sure most of you know what is being efficient and what is being effective. Now, if I say that I am doing things rightly or things right, so I'm being efficient. So what has been given to me, I'm doing things right. That is efficient. But if I say I'm doing right things, so I'm only substituted the two words interchanged. Doing things right and doing right things. Things right is efficient, means whatever has been given to me, I'm doing it in a right manner. And right things means I'm doing the thing which is supposed to be done. So I'm being effective. So I'm getting the desired result. If I'm supposed to be doing something else, I'm doing something else, then I'm not being effective. So therefore, you must be efficient as well as effective. When the credentials are same, for example, you are also LLB at the end of the 5-year term and somebody else is also LLB. And grades, for example, do matter, but they may not matter in the judiciary as such, or entrance exam also, for example. So you have to develop your own self as a brand. Suppose, for example, you're going for an interview with a law firm or a corporate firm or any other situation. You have to identify yourself with a particular situation. Project yourself as a brand, right? Brand means you are projecting the good qualities that you possess in terms of skills, the competence, and that should be projected. Like the brands we see every day in newspapers, TV, everywhere, they are projecting themselves as to, yes, we are the best for you. So therefore, you have to project yourself as a person who's best suited to the situation, to the demand that is there. You have to practice the art of storytelling, means you must develop this oratory skill that you have to sell the idea to the prospective person that you are the best person. And that is possible only if you are updated with the knowledge. Law as a career demands continuous updation because it's a dynamic law in nature, subject in nature. The laws keep on changing on a day-to-day basis. The decisions of honorable courts that is High Court and Supreme Court, which are a precedent law, which can be quoted in subsequent cases, are also supposed to be researched. And if you quote the latest law, latest decision to the judge, or as a judge, if you consider the latest law, then your decisions are always going to be right. And a considered decision has to be there, a reasoned decision has to be there. So, and lastly, you must have a good social network. Means you should be able to take advantage of the people who know it better than you. Let's come back to the main now. Having understood as to what exactly law is, having understood as to what exactly the course stands for, what exactly the requirements of a good person to succeed in law and competition are, let's understand what are the opportunities that the legal profession affords to us. There are enormous opportunities. Why I say so? Because as of today, in our society, in our country, there remains the faith in the society that when everything else fails, that nobody is listening to you, the politicians are doing what they want to do, they are not listening to you, they are working the way they want to work, then what do we say? Ultimately, judiciary is the answer. You go to the judiciary. So when everything else fails, you can still take the legal path. So therefore, legal opportunities or the opportunities in the field of law are plenty, because in the country of our size, there are multiple situations, multiple litigants, including the government itself, which is a litigant in more than 60 to 70% of the cases pending in courts. So there are plenty of opportunities available in the legal path. And to take an inspiration, see at the bottom, it says from Mahatma Gandhi to Barack Obama. Long list of luminaries who have used this profession as a stepping stone to greatness. And in our own country, if you go to the profile of the parliamentarians, you'll find almost 25 to 30% of them, means 1 in every 3 or 4 would be a person qualified in law. So the population of the country as a whole is looking to elect representatives who have a qualification in law. It may not be required as a prerequisite to become a member of parliament, but it helps you if you plan a career in politics. Some of the renowned politicians are also lawyers by profession. I may not name them, but you know it already. A career in law offers great promise, and also simultaneously it offers great rewards. Why I say so? It offers a privileged status. I think in one of your papers, the Professional Ethics, the Advocates Act 1961 will be taught to you. That is the statute under which the Bar Council of India has been established, the state bar councils have been established, and the term advocate has been defined in that particular statute or the law book. The Advocates Act 1961. Now that is an act of parliament, and the term advocate is coined by the act of parliament only. So you have a very privileged status. Everybody cannot become an advocate or call himself an advocate. So you have a privileged status in the society. Like there are chartered accountants, there are doctors, they are also out of the statutory acts. The Medical Council of India gives degrees for doctors. The Bar Council of India, along with the universities, give degree for advocates. And similarly, for chartered accountants, the Chartered Accountants Institute of India, ICAI, Indian Chartered Accountants Institute, gives the professional degrees to chartered accountants. So what do we have? It's a degree given by a statutory body, recognized by a statutory body as a profession. Mind it, we are not in a business. We are in a profession. I'm sure most of you know what exactly is the difference between the business and a profession. Business is invariably carried out with a view to earn profits. Whereas profession, in addition to carrying out a reasonable money for your livelihood, you always do a service angle to it. You are supposed to be serving the society in one capacity or the other. So that is a profession as compared to business. So we have a privileged status where, for example, an MBA may not have a privileged status. I'm talking of privilege accorded by the statutory act. You can have an enrollment number. MBA does not have an enrollment number to be used as a person. Advocates have an enrollment number. Doctors have a registration number. Chartered accountants have a fellowship number. So you are recognized by a number given to you. So societal prestige. In society, you are looked up to. If you are an advocate, you are looked up with respect. People will call you Vakil Saab. He will never say any other adjective to your when you are being addressed. So therefore, there is a respect attached to it. Dr. Saab, Vakil Saab. So that is the way we are looking at the societal prestige. You are the respected persons amongst the society you are living in. Then it offers you a global perspective because we talk about the human element to it. Now, humans are the people who are even behind the companies. You will understand in your understanding the company law in due course of time, probably in your third year, that companies are also living or non-living entities. They are enjoying legal rights as such. They are non-living entities, but legal entity nevertheless. But who are the people who are managing? The human beings, the directors who are supposed to be managing the affairs of the company. So there also you have to have a human element to the corporations as well. And corporations are working worldwide. So there is a global perspective to it. You can be into corporates in the law of the field of law worldwide. So there is a global perspective. The corporations are everywhere. The human beings are everywhere. And you have an opportunity across the borders, provided, of course, there are bridge courses there. You can always achieve a global perspective also. And the environment in which the law operates keeps on changing. So you always have an opportunity to learn new things in different areas of law. So law awards you and rewards you handsomely. Legal profession offers you diverse options from becoming A to B to C to D. There are many options available. We'll see in the due course. And it's intellectually challenging. You are faced with a new set of facts every day in a legal situation because the conflict could arise out of various situations and you have to resolve them. The facts could be different in each and every case. So you have to demand something of your mind, something of your intellect, and apply the knowledge that you have to the given facts. Law remains the same for me and you and for everybody else. But it is the application of law that will make me different from you. So I have to really apply the law, the one which is supposed to be applied to a particular set of facts. Of course, personally, it becomes fulfilling when I do well as a lawyer or as a legal professional. I earn well for myself. I earn a reputation for myself. And therefore, it becomes ultimately financially rewarding. Though people may say that the lawyers have to struggle in the beginning. There is no fixed income available to begin with. So is the case with most of the professions. I'm not talking of jobs. Jobs, of course, will offer you a particular salary to begin with also. But even a doctor establishing a new establishment would not earn as much as a doctor with 10 years of experience. Same goes for this profession as well. Same goes for chartered accountants as well. So all the professionals will have a period in which they will learn and then thereafter they will succeed. There are plethora of opportunities available, avenues to explore and conquer. To explore and conquer. So you must explore as to what is available to you, which can be taken up by you. You could become, or you could choose to become an advocate. You could choose to become a judge. You could choose to become an consultant in the field of law. Means you are into opining, opinions, and you could choose to become an academic. Just to give you 4 very prominent situations, very prominent options. Now, what are the career options for a law graduate? Because the minimum you need to become a professional in this profession is the LLB degree. So I'm calling it a law graduate. You can go into litigation. That means appear in court as a advocate for one of the litigants, either somebody who is suiting or who is lodging a case, or somebody who is defending a case. The plaintiff or the defendant, as we call them, you'll understand the terminologies as you go through your course. You could also become a counsel for the corporate, for the company, because all companies are faced with legal situations, legal problems. So they also need corporate counsel. Judiciary and civil services. Judiciary, of course, we have discussed. You need to clear the entrance exam. So is the case with civil services. Now, civil services, as you are aware, I'm talking about the administrative services, that is the IAS and the state administrative services. There also you have multiple choice of subjects you can take for your examination. And law supposedly is one of the most scoring subjects. So you could also think in terms of those goals. You could go into media and publication. Now, you may not necessarily go into litigation as an advocate, judiciary. You could also go into media. Media also requires legal consultants, the people who can analyze situations from a legal perspective, who can critically evaluate the judgments being delivered by the various authorities. So you go to media and publication as well. You could choose to become an academic professor. You could go on to do LLM. You could go on to do PhD, and thereafter pursue a career in education itself. Become a professor, become a vice chancellor at the end of the term. So that is the road you must choose for yourself. So you could have a venue open as academia also. You could also get associated with social work also, because you have NGOs working in the field of public welfare. So you could have plenty of options to you if you are a law graduate. Let's talk about the various practice areas that you can choose when you are a qualified professional after an LLB degree and enrollment with the Bar Council. I'm sure you are aware that LLB degree is not enough when you want to practice. You must also clear the All India Bar Examination, that is AIBE, which happens twice a year, so that which entitles you to practice law in the field of your choice in the courts of India. So there again, you have multiple choice available to you. You can pick up an area of interest to you. You could go for civil laws. You could go for criminal laws. These are all branches of laws, different areas of laws. If you are, depends as to what is your attitude, aptitude. We'll discuss that also today. Family law, like there are situations in families where people have conflicts within the family as well. So you are helping them out, for example, with marriages, with divorces, with issues of inheritance, with issues of so many other things within the family. And labor laws, because there are employer-employee situations and conflicts are bound to be there. So you could go for labor welfare laws also. If you look at the corporate situations, you could have a interest in taxation, the corporate affairs, because the companies also are supposed to be bound by a constitution of their own, the law of their own. Like we are governed by the constitution and the laws made thereunder, the companies also are supposed to be compliant to the company law. The law happens to be the Companies Act 2013 as of today for them, and they have to be complying that. They cannot operate independently of that compliance. They have to comply and then operate within the country. You have to have a constitutional law also, because there are situations where the things are not being done as per law. So you could become a constitutional law expert, right? You might point out as to what is as per law, what is not as per law. You make good money there also. And administrative law means we are dealing with the service authorities, service matters of people who are in service of the government and they are facing with administrative situations. Then you have laws in the field of property, because property is a valuable asset for a human being, and it is a valuable asset in the monetary terms as well as the enjoyment terms. So there could be property disputes. So you can also specialize in property laws. Then all of us know intellectual property also has a lot of meaning these days. It can be evaluated in terms of monetary terms also. Like I'm talking about the copyrights, the trademarks, and the patents that the companies hold for their inventions, novelties. So there also, that's a very lucrative field, very emerging field in terms of intellectual property law. Then we could also go into cyber laws. Now, technology is advancing and so are the cyber thieves. There are cyber crimes happening, which is a relatively I'm saying, new field of law, always advancing with time. So you could go into cyber law, and you could also go into international law as well as human rights law, where they are respected. So you could choose plenty of options in terms of your career options in law itself. So law offers you, as I said, plethora of opportunities, option choices that you can choose. Now, having given you that insight, a legal professional, be it the advocate, be it the judge, be it the corporate counsel, be it the international counsel, be it anybody else, it applies to all. You must have good presentation and public speaking skills. Because if you are an advocate, for example, after 5 years down the line, you have to speak well, first to your client and then to the judge. If you are a judge on the other side of the table, then you have to conduct yourself in a manner that you present an aura to the audience, that is the litigants and the advocates representing both the parties, that is the contesting parties. And then you must be able to speak well. Let's see, how do you do that? First of all, you must have a clear articulation, and that applies to you as far as even your classroom learning goes. What is articulation? Articulation is to be able to speak precisely in a very definite manner. You must be able to express as to what you want to say. Not only that, the other person who is listening to you must be able to get the message that you intended to give to him. So therefore, articulation is an important part of you as a student and as a professional after 5 years down the line. You must engage the person with whom you are interacting. Now, in today's scenario, you could have a teacher or you could have a fellow student who you want to have attention of, who must listen to you as to what you want to say. So therefore, you must have an engaging presentation. You must assess the needs. Now, teacher may have a different need from you. Teacher may want you to be attentive, whereas the judge may want you to be thorough in your homework for case preparation. So there has to be a different kind of a requirement for audience. You must understand that. And a composition skill. You must be able to not only think well, you must also be able to express well in writing. Articulation will come from your oral skills, whereas composition will come from your written skills. So you must start practicing these skills. Now, if you have taken this particular path, this particular career option, why I'm dwelling on this along with the career option opportunities or option as a subject of the webinar today? Because if you are not developing these skills now in these 5 years, you will not be able to develop these skills 5 years down the line. You must know that for a legal professional, good oratory skills are important. Good composition skills are important, because you have to draft petitions, you have to draft letters, you have to draft various situations. So you must know how to write effective communication, which communicates what, because ultimately a litigant is going to tell the lawyer or the advocate what he wants to say. First of all, you have to grasp it, and then you have to put it in writing for the judge to understand what you want to communicate. So there has to be a proper communication, which is possible only if you are able to understand, comprehend better, and also write it better. So therefore, you should be able to control your oratory as well as your skills of speaking. When you are speaking before a judge or before an audience of any nature, for example, within your, let's take the example of within your class, before the teacher, before the fellow students, you should lose all your anxiety. There should be no anxiety. You know, we are all scared. Okay, if I'm speaking with so-and-so flair or so-and-so style of speaking, what will the others think of it? Don't worry about that. If you start worrying about others, you will forget as to what you want to achieve. So forget about the anxiety part. You must address yourself to the subject you want to. The teacher, you must be looking at the teacher. The judge, you must be looking at the judge. So therefore, you have to modulate to make it interesting, and you must have a logical flow of thought. And you will understand this with the passage of time. When you are handling a situation in a career option, you must know your audience, know your content, design it well, and deliver it perfectly. Now, that applies to all your career options. Whether you become a litigant lawyer, whether you become a judge, whether you become a corporate lawyer, whether you become a person who is going to go into academics, because they are also, as a teacher, you must be seeing your teachers every day. They speak well and they speak in a manner that they are able to communicate to you so that for you to comprehend in a very simple manner. So therefore, you must have a flawless delivery also there. Because the teachers know who are the target audiences, who are the participants. They know that you are the students. Their knowledge level and your knowledge level, there is a gap. So we must address that gap, right? We know as to how much you know. So therefore, we try to fill up that gap and give you the knowledge which you need. Why are they here? Teacher addresses that problem to you, for you, and you must be able to address that problem in your career options also down the line, 5 years down the line. We are discussing that, trying to equip you right through 5 years to achieve that particular objective of doing well in your career option. Because ultimately, the objective of talk today and the objective of all the symposiums, seminars, webinars you will have during the course of 5 years, and you'll have plenty of them, I can tell you, is to equip you better. Better means better than others. You must focus on the problem always in a career option. The problem was, for example, 3 months down the line below, you were forced to think as to which career option I should take. So you are focusing on solutions of your career option problem. Now, problem you identified, you have a solution now that you will enroll into a LLB course. And benefit, you must have already thought, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to achieve ultimately? Keep it short. The good presentation is like an onion. Keep peeling till you get to the core. So you have to similarly start working on a problem, and you must get to the core of the option which you want to achieve at the end of the term. And keep it simple. That's a KISS principle. Short and simple. Now, I want to take up this particular attitude and aptitude, because a lot of people having enrolled into an LLB program, or for that matter, any other program also, must address their attitude and aptitude situations. I would not call it problems, because everybody has a unique personality. God has made all of us in a unique manner. No two people are alike. No two brothers are alike. No two sisters are alike. No two siblings are alike. And so is the case with the students in your class. So we have to have a situation where we must address our attitude and aptitude problems, or situations as we call it. If you see on your slide here, it focuses on attitude, aptitude, and altitude. Now, if you see, they are all written in a toggled manner. If you see in the attitude, T is capital here. In the aptitude, P is capital there. In the altitude, L is capital there. So only one alphabet can make all the difference. Everything remains the same. Altitude, aptitude, attitude, all these things similar sounding phonetically also. But what Zig Ziglar says, Zig Ziglar was a motivational speaker in US. He has very famous quotes also. So he's one of them. Your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. We'll see as to what do we mean by this. Now, I'm taking it as a part of the career option intentionally here, because if you understand this today, this will help you go a long way in achieving a success of your career option. And so it applies to all options. Let's understand each of them separately. What is the attitude? I'm sure all of us use this. You have a good attitude. You don't have a good attitude. Attitude is, in a way of looking at things. Tendency to respond positively or negatively to a situation, certain idea, certain person. You may want to do certain things. I may not want to do certain things. So our attitude towards a person, whether I am in an angry situation, whether I'm in a smiling situation. So that is my attitude. How do I behave and how do I react to a situation? So therefore, attitude influences my choice of action and response to challenges. So attitude is my personal trait. So it is how do I get stimulated by situations as they present myself to me. And what is then the aptitude? Now, aptitudes basically I'm referring to the skills or the competence you have. So aptitude, of course, can be acquired. The skills can be acquired, but attitude cannot be learned. It has to come from within. Aptitude is a component of competence to do a certain kind of work at a certain level. Like aptitude, maybe I may be interested in the job, so therefore I'll do a good job of it. If I'm not interested in the job, I may not do it that well. So therefore, develop an interest in the work which you are doing. Develop a passion for the career path you have chosen. So you will develop the aptitude as well as the attitude for it. What is more important, the aptitude or the attitude? Just concentrate on what is written here. Aptitude is the potential to learn skills. It's a potential, and by the word potential, we mean it can be ignited, it can be sparked off, it can be awakened. So we can learn new skills every day, we can learn new abilities and develop ourselves in terms of communication, in terms of leadership, in terms of participation, in terms of whatever we do in our life. Whereas if it will, while it is important, aptitude alone will not make you a good leader. It's your attitude, means how you interact with others. What is that angle from which you see others? Others means not only persons, the situations as well, as to how much you will do and how much far you will travel. So if you were to have a table here, just one particular table I will take you through. Now on the left, it takes attitude, vertical, horizontal, it takes aptitude. Now you see on the right and top corner, it's a high performer. So they have a good aptitude and a good attitude. So this is what the table is all about. So you must become high performers. You must have a good aptitude and a good altitude. Or aptitude. Then only you can get a good altitude. We'll come back to the altitude as well. See here. Choice is yours. Aptitude plus attitude determines your altitude. Means the heights you will receive in your chosen career path. Have a look at it comfortably. I'll keep it on. This one. You must always strive to become peak performer. Means you must have a good attitude and a good aptitude. If you have a good aptitude and attitude, you should aim to become a good performer. Always be positive in your life. Always believe that you can do it. You have enrolled into a course. You can always pass with flying colors, provided you plan it well. You do it in a manner that is called for. Don't take it easy. Right from day one, start working very hard. So be positive that you can do it. How you can do it positively? You must analyze situations. You will be given situations every day by your teacher also. You will have situations in your classrooms also, in your subjects also. You may not like all the subjects, but you have to still do it. So understand the problem. Where is the problem? Why you like this subject? Why you don't like this subject? But you have to pass it. You have to excel in it. So you have to have a problem. You have to have thinking on the subject and then do the option of solution also. Define the problem. Develop alternatives. Alternative is 0 for you. You have to pass. Having enrolled, you must score good marks. Having enrolled, you must make your parents proud of you, yourself proud of you, and think in terms of life that lies ahead of you. Career, I said, is a long-term journey. It's not a short-term goal. 5 years is only a short term in your life. Long-term is your career over the next 15 years, 20 years, and towards that period only. Now, if we were to see, you're already at a situation now, which is evaluation the alternatives. So you have already evaluated the alternatives available to you in terms of what is available as a career option. Now you have made the decision also. Now the stage is at 5. Implement the solution. And you have to implement the solution of pursuing your LLB course and do it with good flying colors, and that can be done or can be done only if you monitor your solution. Analytical thinking is the new decision approach for solving challenges. You must analyze a situation. It is necessary to back up a solution with an implementation plan. As I said repeatedly during the course of last 1 hour or so, that monitoring is very important during the phase of implementation for corrective actions that may be required for. For example, if you happen to score a particular subject in a particular manner this year, you must plan to better it next year so that you can make up for the loss of grades this year and you can still do better. Say, for example, if you miss distinction marks by 1%, you must aim to get 2% extra next year so they can maintain the distinction marks. Start to get it. We have to start somewhere. There has to be a starting line, and you already made a start. What I'm saying is, you do not have to be great at something to start. Like all students as of today, they might have come from diverse backgrounds. Some of them may be commerce students, some of them may be art students, some of them may be science students. But today onwards, you are competing for the same situation. You are all alike. And some of them will be brilliant. Some of you may not be that brilliant, but you must aim and strive to be brilliant. So you don't have to be great at the start today, the start of your LLB journey, right? But you have to start somehow to be great at something. Unless you start, you will never achieve greatness. That's what I mean to say. You will get everything in life, what you are aspiring for, provided you just help others to get what they want. Means you must, the message underlining here is that you must have an interactive approach, because nobody is perfect in its own sense. You must always interact with others, your mentor, your teacher, your classmates, and everybody learns well, and then you all do well. Now let's come back to the cake I was trying to present to you, the virtual cake. Remember the starting point? Cake which I gave you or presented to you was like this. Confidence or cake. C stands for confidence. A stands for articulation. K stands for your knowledge. And E stands for your ethical behavior. That is what the cake I wanted to give you. And this you should remember all through your course, all through your career. Whichever career option you have chosen now, you must remember this. You have to be confident, and confidence will come from where? From the knowledge you gain. So you must gain good knowledge through your LLB course, which will give you confidence. If you are not having knowledge to speak on a subject, write on a subject, you can never be confident. So you must, these are in fact, if I were to say, 4 alphabets which are encompassing lot of wisdom. I would say that, because your knowledge will make you confident. Your confidence will make you articulate. And if you are articulate, you will be able to do things in an ethical manner, honest manner. Means you will not be looking to deceive others, looking to adopt shortcuts. So that is what the cake was. Cake is for basically giving you the knowledge, the confidence, and the resultant articulation and the resultant behavior. Because if you are confident of doing well, you will not be required to adopt unfair means. So therefore, it is all success mantra of your career option. The concluding point I want to make here is very important here. Always remember, nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. If suppose somebody is saying some words about you which are not very pleasant to hear, which are not good to hear, which are not very complimentary, means you have given your consent to that person delivering those words to you. If, for example, I'm again coming back to the situation of a teacher or a judge telling you something adverse which you don't like, it is because you have given that opportunity to that teacher or that judge to tell you so. Even your parents, it's your behavior which is giving them this opportunity. In a way, it is your consent you're giving to them to scold you or to give you those adverse remarks. So therefore, never given consent to anybody. In other words, never do something which will invite inferiority. You should always try to do things in the proper manner, right manner, and if you do that, you will make a good success of your chosen career option. And because you are what you believe ultimately. If you believe that you are good, you can excel, you will excel. If you believe, no, I can't do it, then of course you will never be able to do it because you lose confidence. And the person who has lost confidence will never be able to do good. So confidence, as I said in the cake part of it, is the very, very important ingredient for your success. So with these words, I think it's time for me to conclude and say thank you very much to all of you for being attentive listeners. And of course, you had no other choice, but now I can ask you to raise your clarifications, further information you need, or anything else you have in your mind. Being young learners at this stage, I can, take the opportunity to address all your concerns. Yes, it will be my pleasure to address all those. Thank you once again, and you are free to raise your questions now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for inviting our students. I think we have Sankalp in lobby, so I think admit him. I've admitted him. He'll be live soon, and he can share his question with us. Other students, if you have any query, you wanted to raise any question to sir, you want any clarification, any guidance, you may please raise your hand there for speak and be in the lobby and we can add you. Sankalp is facing probably some problem in admitting here. I am trying to admit him, but he is not able to join us.
Okay.
There are a lot of...
I believe you have an option of chat questioning also.
Yes, we have. So you can also write, students, if you have an option, if you wanted to ask something, you can write in the chat box. Sankalp has joined.
Yes.
Sankalp, please open up your camera. Yeah.
Yes, I opened it. Hello, good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Sankalp. Yeah.
Sir, it's pleasure to hear you. I have some questions. Can I raise my question?
Yes. Question or questions?
Question.
Okay. Yes.
Sir, my question is how to be a judge at Supreme Court or High Court, and it is necessary to be a little good in politics also to be at Supreme Court at High Court due to collegium system.
Okay, you have asked so many questions in one question. That's good. Okay. You said how to become a judge at the High Court and the Supreme Court. Now, you are just starting with the LLB course, right? Good to aim for that situation, that position, right? They are actually at the pinnacle of their career. The people who are judges today at the High Court or Supreme Court, they are supposed to be at the pinnacle of their careers. They have done enough and a lot of things in their career. And we are only making a starting at the LLB first semester. Good. You want to aim for that. So that is towards the age where you will be nearing your retirement age, maybe 55 plus, right? So there is a laid down qualification with regard to appointment of judges at the High Court and the Supreme Court. Now, initially, like our judiciary has a 3-tier system: the district level, the High Court level, and the Supreme Court level. Now, I'm not going below the district because they are all sub-panchayat, sub-taluka courts and all the lower courts I'm not going. So I'm going basically at the district level, which is primarily one court at each district. We call them district courts, lower judiciary as we call them. Then there is a one High Court for each state practically, except maybe some High Courts may be catering to various states also, like Punjab, Haryana is for Punjab and Haryana, and maybe Assam or Guwahati is for basically 7 sisters. So similarly, an apex court is only one for the country. There are laid down qualifications for becoming a High Court judge and a Supreme Court judge, which are in terms of a certain level of, if you are a direct recruitment from the bar, because there is a bar and a bench. Bar is collectively referred to as the advocates. The bench is collectively referred to the other side, that is the judges. So there are people taken from the bar after a particular excellent career in bar. That means as an advocate, if you have certain landmark decisions to your credit, you are a person who is prominent in the field of law as an advocate. You are picked up by the collegium as a person, as a direct entrant from the bar only. That an advocate can become a direct judge at the High Court or at the Supreme Court also. But you must have a prominent tenure as a practicing lawyer for a particular area and a particular age group. So they are the two qualifications as far as the bar is concerned. Now, as far as the bench is concerned, you normally join either at the judicial service. Let me take the example of Delhi. We have a Delhi Judicial Service, that is DJS, and then we have Delhi Higher Judicial Service, DHJS. So if you join DJS, you are appointed as a civil judge or the magistrate. If you join as a DHJS, then you are joined as a additional district judge, right? So there are two different levels of hierarchy within the judges also. So they are also getting promotion through time, through their own performance as a judge also. There are superiors to them also who judge them, and they also get promoted from a civil judge to a senior civil judge, and an additional district judge to a district judge, and from thereafter to a high court judge, high court probationer judge, high court regular judge, and then getting promoted to the Supreme Court in terms of collegium selection. So this is how the process goes on. Any other question you have?
Yes, sir. The second part of it, that is it need to be a little good at politics to be at Supreme Court or High Court?
No, not exactly, because as the contention has been, politicians do want to have their say back again in this subject also. They want to have a say in the appointments, but the collegium system doesn't allow that. If you are familiar with the collegium system, they are the top 5 judges of the Supreme Court who decide the names to be appointed for judiciary in the High Court as well as the Supreme Court, right? And they decide on the names on the merit. The government has only a role to play to the extent of vigilance clearance for them, as to are there any cases pending, how has been their conduct as they are serving, and that is the only role they have. And they have to accept the collegium recommendation. They can only return it once, and second time they have to accept it. So it's politicians literally have no say. However, having said that, what you are you are trying to point out towards political influence over appointments. Of course, we are all human beings, so I would not rule out. And all of them, as I said in the beginning of my lecture, there is a human element to law also. So is the case here also. There is a human element to appointment also. Now, if suppose somebody knows somebody, of course, we are all not that much unbiased. We also have a biased thinking, biased approach everywhere. Out of 5, say for example, in the collegium, 1 may be favorably inclined to me, other 4 may not be inclined to me that favorably. So there comes the question of the influence. Now, influence could be political, influence could be apolitical. So I would not like to go beyond that. Yeah. That answer your question?
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Great. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Next person. Yeah, next student.
Next is, I think we have Ayush with us. He is joining. He has entered the room. Ayush, please open up your camera and mic. Ayush, you have entered the room. Please open up your camera and mic. I think he's facing some problem in connecting.
Anybody else waiting in the room?
No, sir.
Any chats? Chat questions?
No chat questions. So I say thank you, sir. Thank you for enlightening our students. Thank you so much. I think we can have this conversation again. We'll be inviting sir again for definitely for other sessions, and students will be getting an opportunity to interact with you, sir, again. So I think there's some technical issues. They're not been able to join. Thank you, sir. I thank you on behalf of Center for Legal Studies, Geeta Rattan International Business School. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a pleasure for me to address these young minds, and I look forward to the opportunity again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I request students to stay tuned, please, for an announcement. Please stay tuned. Please stay tuned for an announcement. There is an announcement regarding an event which your college is going to be organized very soon. So I hand over this to Dr. Pooja Chaturvedi.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Pooja Chaturvedi Sharma. I'm your overall cultural coordinator. I'm here to announce that we are going to conduct an online talent hunt competition for the newcomers of BBA and law courses. So this event is basically going to be like that, whatever you are good at, whether you're good at dancing, whether you're good at singing, sketching, it can be rapping, it can be say instrument playing, it can be anything. Whatever you're good at, you need to send us the video for the same. You need to shoot that video at your own place with good ambience, with good sound, good lighting. You need to make that video and send it to us. And then we will shortlist and then we will proceed with the same. I'm writing, it is a talent hunt competition. You can check your chat. It is on 24th of December. Last date for sending entries is 20th of December. It can be anything. It can be whatever you are good at, but the maximum limit for video is 2.5 minutes. Your video cannot be longer than that. Right? The email ID where you need to send us this video is, I'll just write that email ID for you. This is the email ID, gibbs.talenthunt1@geetaratan.edu, right? So I'm here. If you have any doubts, if you want to ask something, you can write in chat. I'll revert to you. Event is on 24th. Last date for sending videos is 20th of December. Maximum limit is 2.5 minutes. Yes, Shivu, you can send monologues as well. No, Vanshika, it is not compulsory. It is voluntary. If you want to. Whosoever wants to. It is not mandatory. No, this is not something related to sports. For sports, we have another event. Here we're talking about anything related to cultural. It can be your painting, sketching and all. Nothing like sport. But yes, it can be kinesthetics. It can be something like gymnastics. Shania, video submission last date is 20th of December. Yes, Ayush, you can send something related to debate. That you can do that. It is open for all categories except outdoor games, outdoor sports like badminton, cricket. All this is definitely not included. But yes, if something good, you're good at some yoga, you're good at some kinesthetics, all that you can send videos. Yes, definitely, Didar, you need to make video of your sketching, but make sure that in all the videos, whatever event it is, whatever activity it is, Your face must be visible. It is very important. Ishmeet, you can use any kind of music, but yes, as it is a college event and we are going to upload all these videos on our college YouTube channel. So definitely it needs to be, something sophisticated, decent. Your dress has to be decent. Your postures has to be decent. Your moves have to be decent. So definitely it needs to be decent. Yes, Chanya, yoga too. As it is a competition, yes, we can expect. I'm not disclosing anything. I can just say that, yes, we can expect. Yes, Samriti, it can be any song. It can be any song. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll be waiting for, all of you to just disclose your latent talents. And I just want to see what kind of, talented bunch we have got this time. Okay. So God bless you all. Take care. Stay safe. Make sure that you all send your videos on the email ID which I have just shared, gibbs.talenthunt1@geetaratan.edu.in. Last date for sending videos is 20th of December. Yes, definitely, Radhika, you can make video on calligraphy as well, but make sure that your face must be visible. You can do that. Okay, so I will wind it up here. Still, if you have any doubts, you can coordinate with your program coordinator, Shivangi Sharma ma'am, and if she'll communicate it to me and you'll get the solution for your doubts. Okay? Okay, thank you. God bless you all. Take care.